Hello and welcome to this special show on the next 10 years of India's space economy. InSpace, or Indian National Space Promotion and Authorization Centre, and ISRO have prepared a white paper on how India's space economy could grow from $8.4 billion currently to $44 billion by 2033. According to this vision document, the domestic space sector can grow to 33 billion and exports can reach the 11 billion mark. The paper speaks about establishing a long-term Earth observation program on a PPP model, augmenting communication and broadband connectivity, building downstream capabilities for the industry, encouraging R&D in downstream satellite, launch and ground segment, and creating an industrial ecosystem. To discuss this, we're joined by a stellar panel: ISRO Chairman S. Somnath, Chairman InSpace Pawan Goenka, PJ Nath, MD and CEO Tata Nelco, Jayant Patil, Advisor Defense and Smart Technologies L&T, and Yashas Karanam, co-founder Bellatrix Aerospace. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us. Dr. Goenka, give us the essence of this white paper. You've spoken about a $44 billion opportunity in the next 10 years. What will be the key strategy to implement this and achieve this?
Well, thank you, Parikshit, for having us here to talk about the space sector in the future that we see for the sector. Clearly, space has been in the news lately with the fantastic achievement that ISRO has had on the Chandrayaan-3 mission. But there's another sort of story developing in space, and that's about how we take the space economy to a greater height and move from, as you said, from 8.4 billion to 44 billion in a time of 10 years. Now, a lot of things have to come together for this to happen. The very first thing is the enablement from the government, and that's happening in pieces with space policy that has already come out, FDI policy that's about to come out, and many other initiatives the government has taken, such as NCL, playing a very big role in this. So that's one part. The second part, which has already started in a very big way, is ISRO hand-holding the private sector in helping the private sector with expertise that ISRO has, infrastructure that ISRO has, and the review mechanisms that ISRO has. Third is the in-space facilitation, which is the primary role for which InSpace has been created, in addition to authorization. Technology transfer, for example, is being done in a very big way. So that's from the government side. But from the industry side, we have to have the startup kind of take larger bets, bigger bets. Some of them are doing, and we have Bellatrix in front of you. You can talk to him. Also, the legacy companies to move up the value chain and move up from being just suppliers to ISRO to start looking at technology, and maybe perhaps new big player jumping in the fray. So what this document does is kind of sets out a framework on how all these forces will come together and take its space economy from $8.4 billion today to about $44 billion in 10 years from now.
Right. Dr. Somnath, your view on this white paper, the strategy that it lays out, what role do you see for the private sector in the next 10 years when it comes to making India a leading power in the space sector?
See, in ISRO, we have been working on space system development in India. And to do it in India over the last many years, minimizing dependency of technologies. Today we have certain capability in rocket building, satellite building, applications development. And after having established as a technology developer, ISRO is looking at how to enable the private ecosystem to develop with the help of the technology which is already developed in ISRO. And with the space sector reforms that has been announced by the government and the new space sector Space Policy 2023, it mandates ISRO to handhold and help the private ecosystem empowered by InSpace. So whatever we do in ISRO, we look at how this can benefit the private ecosystem for creating more business opportunities. And it is happening now with the new emergence of startup culture in the space sector, and also big players trying to take up more and more responsibilities of building systems. I look at it as a possibility, a huge possibility, especially in various verticals in the domain of space technology. Let it be in the launch vehicle building, satellite building, applications in various domains. The bigger pie is in the downstreams, and we need to concentrate on the downstream to create more value for business and economy which will actually drive the higher technology domains like satellite building and also the launch vehicle operations to a greater height. So we are excited to look at this possibility as defined in the white paper, which looks at, based on the capability that we have today, the emergence of space all across the globe, especially with the changing geopolitical environment, the reduction in cost of access to space, the expansion of space applications in communication in huge areas, and the type of data availability with the high levels of communication capability that is developing as parallel to the space technology. It all enables the space technology to be utilized in a bigger manner in the days to come. And it becomes connected to your life so closely. So there is a huge amount of possibility of expansion globally in the economy of space-linked businesses. And we also should have a good share of all of that in India as well. And we will also look at, based on the frugality of engineering, the cost effectiveness that we are well known for, we must be able to attract large amount of business and potential manufacturing capability in this country to increase the share that has been told in the white paper.
All right, let's get in some industry views as well. Mr. Nath, to speak to you now, satellite communication space has been gaining traction. This has been mentioned in the white paper as well. We've seen Bharti Enterprises, Geosatellite. Now, Starlink is firming up its plans to enter the India market and offer such services as well. Where would Tata Nelco likely to invest in?
Let me speak from the perspective of satellite communication service provider. We are a satellite communication service provider. So let me speak from that perspective. As a satellite communication service provider, we are focusing on 3 different verticals. So one is the enterprise market, the other one is the Aero IFC, as well as the maritime communication. So we see a huge opportunity of growth for all the 3 segments that we talked of. With the newer technologies coming into the country, with price point becoming more economical, more affordable for the market, all the 3 markets will explode. The Aero IFC, for example, we are doing only for the overflights today, all the international aircraft flying over India. Domestic industry has not yet started offering internet connectivity on the aircraft so far. That's a huge business opportunity that we can see. Mobility as a sector, be it in terms of automobile, Aero IFC I've already talked of, as well as maritime. It's a huge sector. The newer technologies are coming, and with the right price point, this is exponential, and we are looking at that very seriously. The other area which will be of immense potential going forward will be the direct-to-device. With the 5G compliant satellites coming in, which will be a reality in the next 1 to 2 years' time, the direct-to-device will be a huge market opportunity for the satellite communication service provider. We as a company are so far focused only in the country, but we have ambitions of being a global company. We will go beyond India as well. With the right kind of regulatory framework enablement, which is pertaining to using the infrastructure that we have in India to serve markets beyond India, could be one catalyst. Apart from that, we obviously will be creating more infrastructure across the globe, and we'll become a global service provider in the near future. The other thing that we believe is that with the opening up of the regulatory framework, with more frequency bands being opened up. Today, it's only the KU band, KA band, and extended C band which are opened up. L band and S band, for example, are not available in the country. With those frequency bands being opened up, I hope it will be done. We hope that it will be done soon by the government. The new use cases will come up, and that itself will give us a huge growth opportunity for the market. So overall, we believe that the satellite communication service market will grow exponentially with the new satellite coming in, as well as the right kind of regulatory framework and the right kind of price points. I think so. That's where we are betting in. So we will continue to be a satellite communication service provider and drive it aggressively.
Right. Let me also go across to Mr. Patil at this point. Mr. Patil, looking at all the opportunities mentioned in the white paper, are there certain opportunities which you are most interested in, where L&T will be investing heavily in over the next 5 to 10 year period?
Parikshit, in fact, as you know, Larsen Toubro is a partner to ISRO for now exactly 52 years. We were one of those oldest who started this relationship, and must compliment Dr. Somnath and the whole team for making us proud. Of course, a whole lot of us build a lot of hardware. Now, going forward with this paper and the amount of handholding and kind of support that is coming out of InSpace, we are looking forward to growing out of different segments that we concentrated primarily on the upstream side. We always focused right from building raw material to creating the rockets, or rather the rocket motors, and the varieties of structures. We are now gradually moving, and that's where, thanks to ISRO and the handholding, we are already at SHAR integrating the systems along with ISRO supporting them on that, so that sooner or later, let's say about a year down the line, rather not a year, I would say about 8 months down the line, when our own launch vehicle we start putting up, we are able to do that integration ourselves. Again, some amount of handholding and support from ISRO. Now, extending this to sort of building the model for future, when we start looking at next couple of years down the line, there's someone who is looking at providing a service of picking up a satellite while we build an enormous amount of satellite hardware ourselves, but picking up a satellite to begin with and placing it anywhere in the space at a designated slot. And of course, thereafter, creating a communication link to reach on Earth. We also built a lot of ISRO's existing GSAT terminals on ground. And that's where that capability from Larsen Toubro can be, from launch of a satellite, building varieties of satellite hardware to launch to taking the data down on the Earth. Of course, the varieties of tracking, life maintenance of the system in the sky. Those aspects we already are capable of, and that's something we again did over the years for ISRO, and that's what will continue.
Okay.
So I would say scale up of what we are doing, extending both backward and forward, and to the extent of now enhancing. So investment aspect, if you really ask me, it's now from subcomponents and systems to complete system of systems, and taking care of end-to-end services is where we are going to put in money. Also scaling up from current scale, what we are talking about 8, 9, 10 launches a year to about 25, 30 launches a year kind of a capability within the next couple of years.
All right. Let me also go across to Yashas from Bellatrix. Yashas, give us a sense of your plans this year. And I would like to ask you about the regulatory ecosystem. Yes, there is some news about the government considering liberalizing the FDI policy in the space sector. We are yet to take a call on spectrum allotment for space communication as well. When it comes to easing up regulations for attracting greater investments, what would you like to outline here?
Yeah. So I think this is a problem. I mean, I'm probably one of the right guys to answer this, because you asked about FDI and then policy enablement. We have been beneficiaries of this ourselves at Bellatrix. So for example, last April, we had a launch where one of a specialized technology called Hall effect thruster was tested. It is a kind of electric propulsion system, very complex in terms of technologies. So we got immense support both from ISRO as well as InSpace in terms of making this launch possible, without which it could not have really been possible. So that is one thing. And this happened while this white paper was being formulated and policy changes were happening, and the Space Act was yet to be approved in the parliament, right? So even when all the things are on paper, the intent is very clear. Both InSpace as well as ISRO are determined to really go out and help startups, and the kind of support we got is something beyond what we could even ask for. Say, for example, I go to a government and ask for a set of policies favoring the startups, right? So it only ends at creating whatever we ask for. In this case, it is more inbound, where I think they are coming and asking what is it that we as startups really require, and they're really working towards that to make this happen. So the intent is very strong. And when it comes to FDI, also, I think we have received a FDI, and we had a very seamless and smooth process, and a lot of support from the Department of Space for this. So we have also seen that. And overall, I think the white paper that is under discussion, I think it outlines several things which are beyond just the areas or sectors, right? There is a lot of thought which has gone into it. For example, the white paper outlines the kind of efforts that is involved across the spectrum to make this sector go from 8 billion to 44 billion. It starts from creating the right talent pool, creating awareness among students so that they become the next generation of engineers who become the workhorses to make this possible. And then there is also emphasis on creating collaborations with foreign companies so that there is more inbound interest, and also increasing the kind of projects to increase local national projects itself.
Dr. Somnath, after Chandrayaan-3 and Aditya L1, what will be the next key projects for ISRO? You were recently asked about India building its own space station. If I were to ask you about the next 10 to 15 years, what is the opportunity for the private sector to collaborate with ISRO on its next big set of projects? And what kind of economic opportunity would that bring?
No, you mentioned many things while we discussed technology and the future engagement of private with ISRO. In ISRO, we are looking at how to develop key space technologies which can benefit the nation as well as which can benefit the business and economy. One of them, of course, is the potential to go to space, stay there for longer years, longer days, then conduct experiments, and then spaceborne economy will develop. We know that if you go to a space station, you have great opportunity to conduct research, say it in the area domain of materials. You have a possibility to work on medicines, synthesis, or make molecules which could not be built on Earth in the gravity field, or potential manufacturing of organs which you could actually build in zero gravity environment, and even do bio research which are specifically important for space. Even mining of various objects in space. All these are potential commercial possibilities where private players can get involved. Now, for that, we need to start work on various programs in the future. We are looking at how we can take our than the regular work which we do for communication, remote sensing, and other launch vehicle capability, look into core technology capability that will empower all this to happen. And this, I am sure, with the successful landing on the moon, we may take up more missions to moon in the coming days. Possibility of having human beings traveling to other planets cannot be ruled out. I think all these are potential possibilities which we need to look at how the technologies can be developed at a low cost, and also how it can become beneficial. And the commercial models of this has to evolve. I think in the days to come, which will definitely happen. And everybody is very sure that India can do that today with the type of demonstration that we have done. And we are also looking at scientific expansion in space sector, especially looking at other planets like the Venus. We are looking at Mars, and we are looking at exosolar planets. And we also have a strong pool of scientific talents who looks at scientific research as a primary goal of this work. I think all these are to be empowered by the space technology work which we are doing. So I believe that all of this, the potential of private players are definitely there. And in the new policy, it doesn't bar anybody from working on domains which are, there is no special domains that private players cannot work. I think it is all open to everybody. So it allows you to contribute towards scientific equipments manufacturing, building them at substantially low cost, or innovative research that you want to do. For example, you have possibilities to look at debris, space debris as a huge business opportunity. You look at space situational awareness as another major opportunity. You also look at strategic space as a potential utilization of capability. So there is so much of opportunity available in the high technology domain, in addition to the regular the space technology domains, which we classically know as the communication, earth observation, and PNT services.
Right. Thank you for summing that up for us, and please continue being with us. Let me go across to Dr. Goenka. Dr. Goenka, this white paper speaks about the need for investments from government, the private sector, and it speaks about the role of citizens as well. $76 billion was the private sector investment that came into space sector globally. Bulk of this came from venture capitalists, according to this paper. What, according to you, will be the pillars to drive greater investments? What do you think the Indian government needs to do, looking at some of the global examples, to have greater investments coming in?
Okay. So let me first say that I was very happy to hear the views of my industry colleagues from L&T, from Tata, Nelco, and from Bellatrix. And they seem to be enthusiastic about what we have put out in this paper, and willing to invest more and play a bigger role. Now, playing a bigger role obviously means a lot of things, one of which is funding. Unfortunately, globally, even though there is we talk about this winter of funding, but globally, I think space sector is getting a lot of interest right now. And in India, specifically, though numbers are still small, the funding is going up every year. Last year, the funding was $110 million. This year, it will be more than that. And basically, what we have to see is how the success will breed success. And as we see some of the initiatives of the startups to bear fruit, we will see more and more investments to come up. The kind of inquiries that we are getting at InSpace today of companies, venture capital funds, or individuals within the country or even outside country. We just came back from a conference, and there were at least 2 or 3 venture capital funds that had approached me to ask how they can invest in India. So my feeling is that if our startups demonstrate results, the funding will not be a constraint for them to grow. This is my bet right now. When it comes to larger companies, for many of them, space is just one of the divisions in a much larger business that they run. And therefore, for them to invest in space, provided space they can see as a business outcome, profitable, should not be a problem. And therefore, the funding issue will be taken care of with the results that we will get. You also talked about involvement of citizens. And I think that's very important, because today many people don't realize how space is playing a role in their life every day, from the time they wake up till the time they go to sleep, or even when they're sleeping, how space is helping in everything that's around us. And I think when the private sector or the citizens start understanding and realizing that the space economy can also play a much bigger role in terms of how the country grows, their engagement and involvement in space will become much higher, for which we will have to do a lot of education, a lot of promotion, and raise the national consciousness about space. So I think all of these things coming together would definitely help us to move towards the twin goal of the scientific advancements that we are working on, that ISRO is so heavily involved in, and after the success of Chandrayaan-3, even more aggressively looking at, as Somnath ji said, what we can do in future. And at the same time, how we can bring space into day-to-day life and help it to grow employment, grow investment, and grow overall contribution to economy. So I think all the pieces are coming together, and hopefully this white paper becomes like a peg in the ground, which will help us to align towards a common goal.
Okay. Mr. Nath, coming to you, this paper also speaks about an export opportunity of $11 billion over the next 10 years. what are some of the key interests for you globally when it comes to export of technology, export of components? Any key vision that you'd like to share with us here?
We will be expanding our business beyond India, but more from our satellite communication service providers. As I said, we will go beyond India. We will have services outside the country. We will cater to a lot of the communication services market, which can be done from the country as well as from gateways and businesses which are outside the country. For example, if you want to look at part of Aero IFC, in-flight connectivity on aircraft, that could be a big export opportunity already because of a lot of international aircraft will be using, will be coming over India, which we're already doing. That will also expand. There will be Indian aircraft which will go overseas. That will also be again served by us across the globe. We also plan to help many of the global service providers offering the services by doing the back-end work for them.
Right. Any key asks from the government, Mr. Patil, which you think will make it easier to invest, easier to grow the space sector? Any areas of interest where you would like to get in, where you hope for more easing of regulations?
I think one ask from the government obviously is especially not so much for the Indian business, but for export businesses is to get funds at a lower cost. And that's something which certainly will make a difference. We see that with the maturity that has been built in terms of manufacturing subsystems for the entire launch vehicles. This is a segment which certainly, including what will go into the space stations, these are something which we are looking at to do for people outside.
All right. All the best to you and all the other industry veterans here. Thank you very much, Dr. Goenka, Yashas, Mr. Patil and Mr. Nath for joining us on the program with your interesting views on what we can achieve in the space economy over the next 10 years. With that, we come to the end of this special broadcast. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.